Hello and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther, and today I am working in my garden to refresh my container pots that I grow most of my flowers and herbs in my front yard. But that's not what I'm doing a video on today. I'm actually here to give you an update on what's going on with my community garden plots. Last week I mentioned that there's been some changes happening, and also I just haven't talked about the community garden yet this year. It just rained and you can hear the birds going crazy. Last year, the manager of our community garden came up with a rule that said we had to leave 4 feet of clearance between the fence line in the community gardens and where our garden actually began. And that's a change from prior practices. And in one of my community gardens, I had planted garlic along the fence line in the fall. I'm in Maryland, I'm in zone 7B, and hardneck garlic needs a period of cold, basically over the winter, in order to be able to split into individual cloves for your garlic. Otherwise you'll have one giant garlic bulb, which is not the end of the world, but it's not really how it's supposed to be. So you plant hardneck garlic in the fall, and then in May you harvest what are called scapes. They're the little things that stick up that would become the flower, but you can basically use them as like little garlic chives or things like that. And then you harvest the bulbs in like early July, late June. But you basically leave them alone once you plant them. Well, I planted my garlic along the fence line, and the manager said, I'm sorry, I can't give you an exception for leaving your garlic out and not moving those beds until June or July. I've made everyone else move their stuff. You're gonna have to too. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. So let's go to the garden and get that happen. This is about 2 weeks ago I did it. I'll show you how I transplanted them, and then we'll do a check-in on how they're looking today. All right, let's get going. I have a big task ahead of me. I've got to move this garlic and this whole garden bed to another place. It's not the best time to transplant garlic, but I have no choice. I have until Wednesday to do it. So we're going to have an experiment this year to find out if garlic can be transplanted and what happens to it once you do it. I'm going to start with the smallest ones because, well, they're already struggling. But my goal is to move this over to the bed right over here with as little disturbance to the roots as possible. I'm going to try to make as wide of a cut around and just literally put it into the other bed. So I've filled this 4x4 bed with 4.5 cubic feet of potting mix of leaf grow, plus I had some perlite, the white spots you see in here that I put in to help give it a little aeration. Ideally I would also put either peat moss or coconut coir in here, but I'm not too worried about that because this is mostly going to be for filler. So over here is where I'm putting the first plants, and I've dug a pretty deep spot that I'm planning on putting the plant itself, and then I'll fill in around with this stuff. So that's why it's not all the way up to the edges, because the idea is to not disturb the roots, but to use this to help fill in any gaps between the plants. I'm going to gently weed around the garlic anyway before I take it, because why bring weeds with you when you move a plant? So I'm going to go down as deep as I can go with this trowel, and I'm going to go around as much as I can. So I want this garlic to feel like nothing's changed, if I can help it. If I'm doing this right, I will not be... Oh, I heard it make a cracking sound. Oh! Okay, that's being disturbed quite a bit. So, yeah, it took out quite a bit around it. And I'm actually going to water this in, but I don't want to mess with it too much. The ground is quite damp already. It's going to take a lot of water. Now, there's already 2 garlic bulbs growing here together, so they're already going to be small bulbs. But I would still like to get garlic this year, so I know I'm going to get smaller bulbs for transplanting. But if I can keep the plants from dying, which is goal number 1, then then we'll be okay. All right, that's transplant. It's transplant number 1. Okay, I've switched up strategies a little bit here. I'm using a shovel now to get a little deeper and a little wider and a little more consistent of a cut. Now there's one here. It's kind of small. I'm still going to try to save it though. So this is probably not the best example of them, but it's still going to disturb them. But my goal is to take it over like this. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm trying to kind of ease it in to the ground over here. That was probably not close enough to the other one. I don't know if I'm going to have space for them all in this bed. Ah! You stay there. You keep your floppy leaves to yourself. This is for the next one. Alright. Here it is. This took me 3 hours, almost 3 hours to do. I think it's like 36 bulbs or so that I had to transplant. And here's the original bed they were in. Tell you what, some of these garlic better survive for all the hours I put into moving them. So it's been a little more than 2 weeks since I came out and moved the bed, and it looks like most of the garlic is still alive. You can tell it's not super happy. Some of the leaves are still kind of sagging, but for the most part, the plants are still alive. And we have had quite a bit of rain, so that's great. So far, the transplant has been successful. Fingers crossed that that will continue. All right, let's take a tour of the rest of the garden. One of the other big changes that's happening in the garden this year is they're putting in water spouts. They're putting in water spouts, so we have access to water to our plots. This one, where the camera is now, is in the middle front of one of my plots. So it's probably about 15 to 20 feet from one of my plots. There's another one down there. But if you look here, you can tell this ditch in the ground. It's big enough for me to put my foot through. You could certainly twist an ankle if you weren't aware this was here. This is where they dug to put the lines for the water. And this is not super solid here. When it rained really heavy, this eroded. And I noticed there was like I could put my foot through it, but then when we had a heavy rain, this ditch opened up. So this is where they're going to lay the water line to go all the way around. But yeah, we still don't have water. They have to get the electric utility to hook up the pump station. But everything other than the hose and the electric pump is supposedly ready. So hopefully, you know how contracting goes, hopefully sometime before the end of the summer we will have access to running water. But it looks like I'm probably going to still need to haul water to and from the creek whenever I need to water my garden. So I've been really looking forward to not having to do that this year, but it looks like that's still going to be a need. But that's okay. I mean, you have to roll with the punches. I am looking forward to when we actually get that, though, for sure. So this is how the community garden we were just in looks. As you can see, I need to bring my weed whacker out here this week and whack down all of these weeds and start clearing some of the beds. I did weed before the end of the year and cleared everything, but you know how it goes in the spring. So I still have a lot of work to do in here, but it might look out of control, honestly. It's just a matter of getting my weed whacker out here and clearing the patches. This is the other community garden plot, and I have quite a bit of work to do in here. Earlier this year, I did clean these beds up, but it doesn't take much for the weeds to return. And so these beds here have actually been mulched over. I have parsley growing from last year in this bed, and then back in the corner is the strawberries, but really I haven't done much in here this year. So starting this week and next week, I'm really going to have a lot of work to do in here. The good news is with gardening, you don't have to do it all at once. You can take it on one bed at a time as you're transplanting, as you're getting things done. So that's my goal, is to come out and start working one bed at a time in both of the gardens to really get it up to speed. And my seedlings back home are getting big enough that I can start transplanting them. So yeah, we got a lot of work ahead of us, but I'm not discouraged. I've done it before. I can do it again.